Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is David Talby, and I'm the CTO at Johnson Labs. And I've been working on understanding clinical medical language for more than a decade now. What I'd like to hopefully help you with today is understand two specific things we have learned from actually applying large language models for life science and pharmaceutical companies over the past years. Um, in both cases, it seems like what we have found is in contrast to some of what other people are kind of publishing, selling, pushing, and which is why I want to share it. And I'm very open to your feedback to see really whether you are seeing the same things or are learning something else from actually putting this software to use. So the first thing that we have found and that I like to talk to you about is that for almost all of the generative AI solutions that we've been asked to build, that we have been asked about, that we've discussed in healthcare, the large language models is really only used as a user interface. And here's what I mean by that. So here's one example of a project that we worked on with really one of the largest pharmaceuticals in the world. And their goal is to build a chatbot for patients and their family members and caregivers about their own product, right? About their drugs and their medical devices. So if I'm a patient, I'm newly diagnosed with something, that's scary to me, and I want to understand, what if I take this drug? What if I take this drug? What if I implant this device? What are the side effects? Why should I be worried about? I heard this thing on the news. I heard this thing on Google. Do I need to make any lifestyle changes? And you want to have this nice friendly chatbot that can talk to me in not in medical jargon, in my own terms, ideally in multiple language, and answer those questions. And this is something that the pharma company wanted to have branded as its own. But the most important thing was that when the chatbot answers, it does not answer from its memory, it does not answer from the general internet, it does not answer from what it was trained on Reddit or Google, or even the national boards, certified board of oncologists, cardiologists, whatever it may be. It can only answer from a specific set of documents that pharma company has approved and shared with regulators. Right? Because each company, when it takes its product to market, tells regulator, here's what we tell patients, here's what we tell doctors, here's what we want to do is, and you can only give answers from the latest versions of the approved documents in each country. Otherwise, you're breaking the law because you're telling the government that this is what you're telling patients, but you're actually telling them something else. So the most important aspect here was when you give an answer, only use these specific documents and only quote from them. And we've seen this in other parts of the healthcare industry. So here's one example for health insurance. So we see this from payers, but also we see it from really many other players in the kind of life science industry, because this becomes important. A patient has a health insurance plan. And in the US, the large payers, and this was it's probably one of the big three, has between 50 and 150 plans within each state, and there are 50 states and a number of other territories. So if I'm on the Arizona Silver Plan X701 from 2019, and I call customer support and I say, hey, I need braces, I need an ear, hearing aid, I need something else. How much will I need to pay? The only correct answer is an answer from that very specific document that describes my own plan. These documents are about 100 pages long, and each one of them is different. And when I give an answer as a customer support person, even today, it sometimes takes 20, 30, or 40 minutes for the health company to be able to read through it and just tell people on the phone what they think their rights are and what they need to do. Because there's a lot of legal fine print. All of this entire document is legal fine print. And of course, it's critical to give patients the correct information. So the goal was, okay, can you build a chatbot that automatically reads this document and just give them the answer, right? So this person on this plan, it's these benefits. What are they eligible for? What do we need to do? Do they need to get a pre-authorization? Do they need a referral, and so on? And you can do it, but really the most important thing was only use these specific documents. right? There's only one document per patient. It's 100 and some pages long, and that's the only one you should use to get the answer. So please don't get the answers from the internet, and make sure not to mix documents, right? So definitely do not, for example, tune the LLM on all the plan documents, because you're going to just get mixed between the different plans. Another thing we're seeing is, so we see this with healthcare providers in the clinical space, but we also see this a lot with pharmaceutical companies when they're working on real world data and real world evidence. So for example, if I have a real world data project and I'm working on oncology, I'm going to ask questions like, I want all the patients with this kind of late stage tumor of this very specific kind of cancer, who have this specific biomarker, who have not started on immunotherapy yet, right? Because they can be a candidate for this clinical trial. They may be a candidate to be an external control arm, right, for a trial or a study that I'm making, right? Or I may want to reach out to them for another purpose. And medical doctors love this as well, because really at this point they would do anything to get out of the EHR. Right now, if you have a cancer patient in the US, on average, there's more than 1,000 pages of free text documentation written about them every year, which means in practice that nobody reads them, right? So this is all written basically for billing. When a patient comes to you, if they bring you, here's my history, here's like 2,000 pages of my last 18 months of cancer treatment. You just look at them, you can say, well, I have 20 minutes with you. Why did you just tell me why you're here? And you start from scratch. So the ability to use large language models to build cohorts, filter patients, answer questions about patients over time is definitely something that we see a lot, both from the healthcare and the life science industry. But also, the most important fact is, when I ask about a patient, thou should only give me facts about that specific patients that are evidenced in the documents or the claims or the EHR data that I have about that patient. So the most important thing is that I do not want the LLM to answer from memory. I don't want the LLM to memorize the patients. If I want to know whether this patient is taking a beta blocker, I need you to go and find the reference in the data set I gave you that says whether or not this is happening. So overall, here's what we are seeing across all of these use cases. So first of all, people really want the chatbot experience. So people who have tried ChatGPT, they really like the model where they just go and ask a natural language question and they get the answer. And when it works, as you can see, they tell us people they don't want reports, they don't want dashboards, they don't want search, they definitely don't want SQL or regular expressions or other things. They just want to ask questions. And we know this is true because most people in the business world, the medical world, this is how they already work. If they want to know, for example, how many patients did we have, within this department last year, they don't go and do SQL or look at the dashboards. They send a natural language email to their to their whole team of human data analysts, right? And they have people who do BI, who do business intelligence, and do SQL and do all of that, and they just get them the answer. So really what they're saying, okay, instead of asking this question to a human and waiting, hours, days, depending on where I am in the queue, can I just ask the chatbot and get an immediate answer on the freshest data? So people really want that experience. But what they do not want the knowledge to come from the chatbot, right? So when we work with models like GPT-4 and and Llama and Falcon and Cohere and Anthropic and Claude, we want the LLM basically to memorize the entire internet and deduce things for it and then tell us about it. But for all the use cases, for example, I've described to you here, it's requirement that the chatbot never answers from memory. Okay. Instead, what I want to do is I want to give you a specific set of documents, and it can be my product data. It can be in pharmaceuticals. It can be my safety information. It can be the raw documents of a clinical trial, right? Because I'm trying to summarize them for clinical efficacy, for clinical safety. It may be patient data, right? If I'm doing real world data, real world evidence, those types of projects. And all I want the LLM to do when I ask a question is please formulate a query to a knowledge base. Okay, find where in the knowledge base the answer is and tell me that, and then and that's it. So if I ask you, what is the capital of France, I do not want you to tell me that it's Paris. I want you to go to a knowledge base. If you do not find a document that says what is the capital of France and you can reference it and show me the explanation, the only correct answer is I do not know. And that's what we are seeing really across pretty much every healthcare and pharmaceutical use case. The other thing we are seeing, and we see this as we see our own doctors interact with the chatbot, with the system we've built, is that medical questions are not one and done. So in healthcare, you have very, very few cases where really the question is, oh, what's the capital of France? And there is one answer. Mostly because doctors, they know the simple answers. What they want to know is they want to have a discussion. And they want to make sure that you're using the right meaning of the term. So for example, when someone says, is this patient diabetic, or give me all the diabetic patients, this can mean many different things. So you could be diabetic because you have an ICD-10 diagnosis code of diabetes right in your problem list. You could be diabetic because you have two abnormal H1C test results in the last 3 months, or maybe last 6 months. Those are different definitions. Maybe you're a diabetic because we see that you've been taking metformin for the past 2 years, right, or some other diabetic medication. Maybe the patient's diabetic because, and we ask why, and you say, well, she told me she's a diabetic, right? So we consider her a diabetic. But the thing is, those are the very different definitions of what it means, right? Similarly, if you're looking through biomedical research, right? So let's say you've indexed, all of PubMed, bioRxiv, medRxiv, grants, and so on, and you say, what are the adverse events for this drug? What do we know in the literature? Also, there are many, many different answers, right? If you just want the list of what's in the product, it's going to be basically everything that came up in a clinical trial. A lot of it really does not matter. Maybe you're only interested in things that have been kind of been found in multiple trials, right? So you can say, look, only find me meta-analysis and meta-reviews. Only find me studies that have been done on at least 10,000 patients. Okay, but very often, for some researchers, it's going to be, look, I'm using this to make clinical decisions. If you have a study on 200 patients, like, I don't care, I can't believe it. It's not enough evidence. On the other extreme, you could have someone who's doing early drug development, and they'll tell you, look, if you have a study that's done even on mice, right, that's actually quite amazing, right? That's more advanced than what I usually see, and that would be enough. So usually what we see is that people ask a question, but then they don't just get the answer and happy with it. They come and go, oh, why? Show me. Oh, you have this study. Oh, how many patients were it on? What was the metric they looked at? When was it published? Okay, what other studies were published around the same time? What definition did they use? So being able to go back to the knowledge base, show me, as you can see in the screenshot here, when you say something, okay, oh, this is interesting. Show me the paper, show me the page where this paragraph is there. Okay, now I want to talk about it, right? And I want to ask specifically about this document. So those are the main things we're seeing in actual use cases and actual use. And in terms of the main architectural implications, we are seeing 3 things. First of all, we definitely see what's called the RAG, or retrieval augmented generation architecture, being kind of the prominent architecture. And that's an architecture where really you have those 2 parts of your generative AI system. You have the actual chatbot, but in the backend, you build a vector database, and you have a specific set of documents that you use. You do some pre-processing for them, you extract information, you enrich them, you calculate embeddings, you put them in the vector database. And then when there is an actual query, there's an actual chat in the chatbot, the only thing it does is also do not answer for memory, formulate a query to the knowledge base, to the vector database, get the results back, and then just formulate them again.
Oh,
Hello, am I
Uh,
back?
yes, you're back.
When
Your
did you lose
bandwidth
me?
broken?
Yeah, bandwidth broke.
Okay. Can you revert to the? No problem. I will try to memorize which slide it was.
Yeah, if you can tell me where to start from.
Mhm. If you can add the presentation once again.
Maybe stop here or
That yeah, that was no, that was the architecture for sure.
so. I think
Um,
it stopped in the middle of this one, right? So I should probably restart this one.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, and you have
Yes.
this, right?
yeah let's see. I think that the worst case, if we'll have any more issues, will be just for you to record it on your own without, like, not on the internet, not online, but record it on your own on the computer, and then you will work with Ida or whoever, and then you will just send us the file, and then we will have it. Maybe that will be, if we will have more disruption
Sure.
with the bandwidth. We'll see how it goes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. But
Yeah.
let's give it one more try. So far,
Yeah.
how I mean, how is the contact? Does it sound reasonable? Does it fit the audience?
Very. Yeah. Very good.
Okay.
I'm. Yeah. I was I was so in the mood of listening that suddenly I thought, like, I was. I closed my eyes for a moment and I was just listening to your voice, and then you stopped singing, and I was like, it took me, like, I guess 20 seconds to understand that what's going on. What's going
Yeah.
on? Okay,
I mean,
I will
also,
move
I
it.
looked at I've so it's full screen on this, but I saw the camera. There's the green light when it takes, and then it stopped and say, "Hey, what happened?"
Yeah, yeah, what's going on? Yeah, I was so confused. Okay,
Okay,
I'm removing myself, and when I'm gone, just
okay.
start.
And let's
Yeah,
start from the beginning of this slide.
yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Given those use cases, here are the main implications we see in terms of architecture and implementations. So first of all, by far the most common architecture is the RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation architecture, which means that you have basically two parts to the technical architecture. On the front end, you have the chatbot, which you speak with, and you write queries and get responses. But when you write a question, the only thing the chatbot is allowed to do is form a query to a backend semantic database, vector database, get the responses, get the documents that match the query, that contain the result, and then really reformulate them as a nice user interface, right? So as a nice bulleted list, right? Or a nice set of answers, really, with the explanations. On the back end, you load the document, so you index and load the specific documents that you are allowed to use, that you should use to provide the answer. There's a lot of pre-processing, enrichments. Then we calculate embedding and store them in the database. So in that sense, the LLM really is only used as a user interface, right? Basically, what it does is it converts natural language questions to a query language, and then the query results again to nice natural language. What it means that I am yet to see a use case in life science or healthcare that actually required the tuning the LLM. And this was a bit surprising because there's a lot of talk in the industry, a lot of companies pushing LLM tuning solutions and pushing that as an architecture. But as we've seen here, first of all, we do not actually use the LLM to memorize, right, and have the knowledge or keep it up to date. The other thing, in a lot of cases, the documents could be similar to confusing levels. You could have similar patients, you could have similar insurance plans, similar versions of the same document that the pharma company has published. And tuning an LLM would cause the LLM to be very confused between those kind of similar but different documents. The third thing we are seeing is that very often we want a single document as a context, right? So I want to ask about this specific drug, this specific safety report, this specific patient. So being able to set even a single document as a context and ask about it is a very common use case. So that's what you're seeing right now, but really it's early days, and I'm definitely, the reason I'm speaking here is because I'm looking forward to your feedback where you've seen other things work, or where you have conflicting uh, insights from putting these things to use in the real world. So that's one thing. The second thing that we have learned, which also seems to be a bit in conflict to what others in this industry are saying or doing, is that current GPT model really suck at information extraction. And information extraction from biomedical papers, from clinical trial documents, from protocols, from clinical trials, and of course from patient information, from pathology reports, radiology reports, EHR documents, discharge notes, has been the primary task, and is still by far the most popular task in the kind of medical text understanding space. And here's how we got to work on this. So Johnson Labs is a company. We are the main company who provide NLP services to the healthcare and life science industries. We serve about 60% of that market. We are most well known for the Spark NLP library, which for the past 5 years has been the most popular NLP library in the enterprise. And the main thing we promise the community, the industry, is that we will always keep you at state-of-the-art accuracy, right? So our role in the ecosystem is to productize at state-of-the-art. So we started a year before the BERT paper, and then we went to deep learning, transfer learning. We had our own healthcare community embeddings. There was few-shot learning, zero-shot learning, and now we have our own large language models. But one of the things we do is every day we read the new papers, we look at the new models. Of course, many things do not generalize, do not reproduce, but the things we do, our commitment to you is that we will keep improving accuracy, right? We will give you the new state of the art. And as such, we do a lot of benchmarks. And one of the surprising things is that when we look at the new large language model, there are some things they do well: question answering, summarization, creative writing, but they really do not do well on information extraction. So for us, when we say state-of-the-art accuracy, we mean it in the academic sense. So when we say we do state-of-the-art adverse event detection, relation extraction, de-identification, we mean here are peer-reviewed papers on public, academic, competitive benchmarks, right, where we show we deliver either equaled or improved the best accuracy that was ever achieved, right, on the same metrics and benchmarks that everybody else is using. And in 2023, we often get the question, okay, have you transitioned everything to LLMs yet? And often the answer is no, because it's just not the most accurate solution, and here are some examples. So one use case that's it's a popular NLP use case is being able to extract social determinants of health. Social determinants of health are aspects of a person's life that impact their health, but are not kind of classic medical diagnosis or procedures. So, for example, do you have a home, right? Are you not homeless? How is your diet? Are you in a stable relationship, right? Do you have social supports, right? Do you live with other people? Do you have substance abuse issue? Do you have health insurance, right? Do you have financial issues? Those are things, of course, have a big impact on how healthy you will be, how long you will live. And they're mostly only mentioned in free text notes, right? Either by doctors or by patients. So, and we've trained over the years a large number of models that do this accurately. One of the things we've done this year is we benchmark them against large language models, and here is a very recent benchmark we've done in the last few weeks with GPT-4 over say a fairly broad range of different types of social determinants. And also, there's a lot of context between how we build the data set, how we define, we have medical doctors who build the golden set. There's a lot of details of the benchmark. But the end result is that we found that GPT-4 makes, on average, 3 times more mistakes than the current state-of-the-art social determinant extraction models that we have. The kind of combination of few-shot learning, deep learning, Hey, one more time.
Yeah, one more time. This time you were saying, I lost you when you were saying this is kind of like the mix of machine learning, but I think we just need to redo the slide again with the results. So
Yeah,
one more time, and if it how many more slides do you have right now?
not many. It's 5 or 6. I think we should be okay with this.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Let's
so
see.
should we go back to social determinants?
And that was the yeah, that was the no no
Okay,
no the slide with the three more mistakes. That was the last one.
that and okay. So do I need to repeat that one or not?
Um, this one, no.
So I do not need to repeat the one with the 3 times more mistakes. Okay, I'll move to the next one.
Uh, okay, you need to repeat that.
I do need to repeat. Okay,
Yes, I lost you on that slide, on the slide
okay,
number 14. Yeah.
got it.
Okay, once again, removing myself, muting myself, and let's see how it goes. Fingers crossed, third time's a
Exactly. Fingers
charm.
crossed.
Yeah, third time's a charm. That's what they're saying.
Third time's the charm. Exactly. Let's
Yeah,
just me find that slide. Okay. So I'll start from the beginning of this slide.
yeah. So when I'm good, just start. Yeah, let's see how it goes.
When we benchmarked our current state-of-the-art models versus GPT-4 recently, across a fairly broad number of different types of social determinants, we found that also, well, we found that, I'm sorry, we need to restart this slide.
No, no problem. Just take the pause, take a break, and then
Yeah,
again. No,
okay.
no worries.
Okay, so starting again in a few seconds. When we have benchmarked our current models, our current state-of-the-art models for extracting social determinants with GPT-4, and this was done very recently, what we have found is that on average, GPT-4 makes about 3 times more mistakes than our current models. And we see the same with healthcare-specific LLMs that we have tuned. And it's really just one case where it looks like the smaller fine-tuned deep learning models and transfer learning models still do better in this case. So of course, there's a lot of fine print that I'm not discussing around, what was the golden data sets, how our own medical doctors annotated the data, the representative of the data, all of that, which we will be publishing. But that's one recent example, but it's not the only example. Here are other benchmarks, and those ones we have published. So the Python notebooks, the data sets are available. If you'd like to reproduce them, just tell us what we got wrong, try it on your own data, share any lessons learned with us, we'll be happy to. One of the things we found is that it's one of the classic clinical name entity recognition benchmarks where we look into extract symptom diagnosis, procedures, drugs, anatomy, demographics, medical devices, labs, tests. ChatGPT makes twice the errors that our current models make. So really, the nice thing is, yes, you can write prompts, and it actually does it. What's important to remember, it does not do it well, and making twice as many errors is significant. We see an even bigger gap in accuracy when you go beyond recognizing entities to normalizing them to standard codes. And here also, this is a public benchmark. Here below, you have the link to the blog post, and from there you have a link to the Python notebooks and the data. If you'd like to look into reproduce it yourself, we've compared the current state-of-the-art models we have for extracting normalizing terms to ICD-10 codes within the context of a paragraph versus ChatGPT 3.5 and ChatGPT 4, and you can see the kind of the gaps here, and there are very, very significant gaps in terms of accuracy. And really, these kind of numbers really bring the question of what is useful versus not useful in real-world use cases, right? Because if something can only give you the correct answers a third of the time, is it really something you want to show to people or use? Another benchmark that we've done and made public is around de-identification. So with de-identification, you're looking at usually it's a clinical note, but could be really clinical trial information, could be safety information, could be even manufacturing information. But you have information about specific people, which you want to first of all find, right? So names of patients, addresses, professions, places, locations, dates, and so on. First, you find them, and then you want to either mask them or obfuscate them or generalize them. Here, I mean, you can see in the top line the kind of the final result. ChatGPT missed 5.5 times more sensitive entities on detecting PHI entities than the current models that we use. And I think ChatGPT still does really well. I mean, it does kind of it's in the low 90s in terms of accuracy, right? So it does. It looks like it works because it identifies more than 90% of the entities. But the thing with de-identification is either you're as good as humans, right? And the current automated de-identification models are as good as humans, right? So you can get to 98, 99% accuracy on real world data, or you're not. And if your accuracy is like ChatGPT, well, your accuracy is 90%, 92%, 91%, depending on the entity. It really means that yes, it would help you, but you still need a human to go and review each and every document on each and every note, if you're really looking for regulatory grade de-identification. So de-identification is really those cases where it's pretty binary. Either you're at 98, 99% accuracy and it's completely automated, or it's still a manual process, right? Which means that you're not really saving on the cost of time or the cost or the time it takes to get this done. Another thing that's important to remember, usually, of course, the focus is on accuracy. LLMs at scale are also much, much more expensive. And here for de-identification, we have one big case study with Providence Health. Providence Health have published, went public when they de-identified using our software more than 700 million patient notes. And at this point, they've actually more than doubled that number, and they've been in production for a while. And as part of that, they did a lot of work to optimize really the cost, right, to do something at that scale. And they got to a point where their main metric was that they were just over 1,500 notes per dollar, right, for both cost, the compute cost, and the software cost. When you look to do the same with GPT-4, and there's, for example, GID GPT, and those kind of people are starting to write those papers and come and say, oh, here's how you de-identify with the GPT class models. First of all, you have the accuracy gap, but on top of it, really you're looking at 2 orders of magnitude cost difference, right, between 15 notes per dollar and 1,500 notes per dollar. And that's what happens often when you have this kind of pricing. If you have 100 notes, sure, it's cheaper. You just call an API and you do it, and you get what you get. But if you have 500,000 patients, 10 million patients, 5 million patients, just large language models are just not a cost-effective solution as of now. So we see, for our experience was, yes, look, we looked at for information extraction, so entity recognition, relation extraction, mapping to standard codes, de-identification. We definitely, we probably do not want to use LLMs for that, at least at the current time. And of course, we keep benchmarking, and we use LLMs really where they do well: summarization, question answering, chatting with people. We thought we were the only crazy ones for a while, but you can see the examples here. And this is one academic paper, but there's several more academic papers who are coming out now and basically saying the same thing. Those large language models, they're very impressive. They seem to know everything. But if you compare them to really kind of the current models, and here they compare this to PubMed-BERT. PubMed-BERT came out in 2020. It's nowhere near state of the art in terms of its accuracy at this point. But it's still just on the kind of classic benchmarks that people have been interested in and working on and using in production for the past 20 years. It does significantly better than what you can get with the kind of, at least the current state of the art OpenAI models. So to summarize, the first finding, and also I said this is very much point in time, but this is what we are seeing now. In most medical generative AI solutions, the LLM really is only used as a user interface, and you can use a RAG architecture, but really it means that at least at this point, the LLM's world is very useful but limited. Second thing we are seeing is that current GPT models are really poor at information extraction, which is the most common task that we still see across the industry. And as a result of this, when we have kind of real-world project, real-world solutions, so but as I said, we have quite a few customers in this space. What we are seeing is that you want solutions that actually combine different techniques, right? You may have the LLM at the front end, you may have deep learning at the back end, you may use some semantic database kind of in the middle to make it all work together. And then together, the result is that, yes, you read the documents, you extract what you need, you enrich them, then the LLM can actually ask and give you answers using that enriched data, and you get the complete solution that you need. And that's where we are right now. If you have questions, if you see different things, if you disagree, if you see things changing, I would really appreciate it if you contact me, because just like you, I'm looking to learn, and these are early days. It would be very interesting to see where we stand on the same topics a year from now. And with that, thank you and good luck with your own projects.